and welcome back to the Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today's episode is about mass-produced bread in the US and the UK.
Yes.
And we're just going to be talking about the differences and,
yeah,
why bread isn't universally made the
I mean,
same
it sounds
way
like
all
a
the way.
really, dry, excuse the pun.
It's very dry.
topic.
So if you don't like bread, then this isn't the episode for you.
Well, you guys would be amazed at how many British people on the internet are complaining about the bread in America when they come over
They complain
here.
about everything in America when they come over here.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Everything's too sweet. Everything's too spicy. Everything's too weird.
Uh-huh.
So weird.
But the bread is one of the main things, and sweet is exactly what they call it.
No, it's funny because there was a ruling a couple of years back in an Irish court that ruled that Subway's bread was not bread, it was more like cake.
Oh,
and that's where...
Oh, I remember you saying that, yeah.
It was more like cake, and they were like, yeah, that's not bread, because there's so much sugar in that.
That is horrible. That's
high
horrible.
fructose corn syrup and all that kind of stuff.
That's horrible to think about, like, in another country, the bread that we have our sandwiches on, the bread that we slap meat and vegetables and, like, mustard and all kinds of, like, the dressings and stuff that they have at Olive Garden, at Subway. That in other countries, it's like, no, this should really have icing on it and, like, berries and,
I mean, that's... I when I first got over here, and I tasted it, it was a shop bought, and this is what we're talking about, is mass-produced. We're not talking about, like... bakery stuff.
No.
Artisanal bread and all that, because that's made differently, people make that to how they want to make it, and, there's a way to make bread.
Yeah.
That's the original way, and, it's better this way and all this kind of stuff, because it's the world's oldest food at the end of the day.
We're talking about sandwich bread.
Sandwich bread, yes.
Yeah. It's already pre-sliced.
The bog standard, run-of-the-mill stuff you buy in a package, a loaf, pre-sliced.
You didn't like the bread when you first got here.
I did not like it. I mean, I still don't really care for it that much.
We tried to go hunting.
I've got used to it now, but when I first got here, I was like, oh my god, what is this?
We tried to go hunting for, like, different brands, different places, different, styles. You tried different flavors, like whole wheat, honey wheat, multi-grain,
Well, honey wheat should be in the name there, it's just... I've gotten used to it.
The funny thing is, though... And, I mean, granted, it's been a long time, I guess.
It's been a very long time.
Since I've had British bread, but I don't really remember, like, tasting a difference.
Well, I don't know, I don't know how it would work, after growing up with that kind of bread, going to a bread that doesn't have as preservatives and syrupy, high fructose corn syrup and sugar and everything in it.
Let's face it.
If it would taste like bread.
You can buy a loaf of bread, Mrs. Baird's or the store brand bread, Wonder Bread, or whatever, and it can sit on your kitchen counter for an indefinite amount of time.
Well, for a few months
without
anyway.
going moldy. Yeah. And that is not normal.
That's not normal. And it's not to say that British bread in the mass-produced bread doesn't have additives in it, because the Chorley would process, to make bread making more efficient and, mass-produced.
Yeah.
Than just, regular old someone kneading a load of dough and sticking it in a tin to prove it,
One thing I can remember that was a difference, not in taste, but was just a difference, was that in Britain, most of the loaves of bread that I had over there, that I can recall anyway, it was sliced a lot thicker, and the slices, like, the bread didn't seem it seemed more dense, more spongy than the American bread, whereas, like, the American bread, you can, if you pulled a slice of bread out, and you just kind of barely pinched it, like, it's gonna pinch together. It's gonna smush. It's gonna like stay.
What's this now? British bread or
no, American?
Yeah,
bread.
Yeah,
it's
American
gonna
bread.
flatten down like a pancake and become almost like you could almost like if you took the crust off. I don't know if this is true in Britain. If you took the crust off though and rolled a slice of bread in your hand, it would become like a dough.
Yeah, I suppose it would. Yeah.
You think it would in Britain also?
Apparently, like, in terms of texture, British white bread is generally denser and heavier than American white bread, which is often fluffier and airier.
Yes, and that's what it is. It's the air that causes you to be able to, like, if you pinched it, it's just gonna stick together and just.
It's very
stay
crummy.
flat.
It's not very good toasting bread.
American bread is crummy?
Yeah, it's not very good. It's not very good toasting bread. Like when you make a grilled cheese over here, you know, like in the pan and stuff like that. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's just very kind of like coarse and, you know, grainy. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it because it's not like. It's not like dense. You know, it's not like tightly packed together.
Yeah.
Like if I was comparing, like, well, which I'm gonna do, I'm gonna compare Wonder Bread and Warburton's, this brand of bread in Britain that's like the top brand over there.
Yeah.
Because Wonder Bread is still the white bread, you know.
Yeah.
Of life, and you know, wholemeal and all this kind of stuff. And I was gonna go into a rant about wholemeal bread and how I don't like it because
is
my
that
dad
the bread that your dad used to get all the time? Yeah, that I was gonna go into a rant about it.
It was like a national loaf. It was like the national loaf. He used to buy this brown bread.
What do you mean national loaf? Yeah, you'll have to explain.
It was the national loaf was this during wartime in the UK. They didn't have enough wheat for bread.
Yeah.
So bakers would take all the wheat ration or whatever like that and make this wholemeal loaf. And that's what everyone in Britain got, regardless of whether you were the Queen or you were the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
Just everybody got that bread.
Yeah.
And it was wholemeal, it was grey, it was very unappetizing bread. And it's so funny because that Back in Time for Dinner, they made them eat it during their wartime segment.
Yeah, you'll have to explain what Back in Time for Dinner is.
It's like an historical kind of like living history show.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it on the
living history show in Britain where the family that they were like
they choose a
they
choose a family and they say, okay, you're going to live through the decades from the 1930s to the 1990s.
Yeah, or to
present
2000
or present
or whatever,
day, yeah. Because of the National Food Survey that was done, you know, where families would record what they ate for like this national food to see what the national diet was, you know, what people were eating. And they'd make menus off, you know, this, and the family would eat it, and, you know, they'd be filmed eating it, and, you know, they dress up and everything and have their house kind of done up all Victorian style, or not Victorian style, wartime style or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'd have to eat the thing. It's an old show. I don't think they've done any more episodes of it. But it's quite recent in terms. It's been the last 10 years. Yeah. But yeah, there was this one segment where they had to spend a week in the 1940s eating
like ration
food. Mm-hmm. And every meal, of course, the kids were like, oh God, this is grim. This is terrible. And what is this bread? They all hated the bread.
Yeah.
They said the bread is the worst bread. Oh, it's just like, oh, you know.
And they called it the national loaf.
The national loaf. And it was like this terrible brown bread, similar to the wholemeal brown bread today.
It must have just been fewer ingredients.
It was just
bare minimum.
And it was just not very nice to eat. So when they got to the 60s and, you know, the Chorleywood process and white bread was back in fashion, everybody was like, get that out of here. It's nice to eat, nice to toast. The butter melts in it gorgeously. Yeah. It's just, it's very pleasant, you know?
Yeah.
I enjoy this bread. I can eat this bread every day, which we do, you know?
Mm.
And it's, you know, it's a kind of the same thing. You know, the Chorleywood process, it was invented in 1961. To like speed up baking, you know, bakers could make of loaves in under 4 hours, you know.
Yeah.
and it was just mass produced, and it still accounts as a lot of like bread snobs out there who are like, oh, get that out of there, you know.
Yeah.
That's not how you make bread, you know, because it uses like, it was a boon to farmers because when wheat stocks were low, they could use low wheat and use this with the additives and stuff like that and just make a good tasting loaf. And it's better than what they make over here. I don't know what they make, what process they use to make bread over here, but
yeah,
I mean they dump a load of sugar into it anyway.
We put sugar in absolutely everything.
High fructose corn syrup, because corn must be one of America's biggest exports.
Yeah, yes.
So you obviously produce so much of it that you don't know what to do with it. So it's like, let's just put it into high fructose corn syrup, and we'll just make it sweet, and then we'll add that to everything. We'll add that to soda. We'll add that to cakes. We'll add that to bread.
Yeah.
We'll add it to sausages. We'll add it to meat. We'll add it to we'll add it to everything. It's infinitely cheaper than sugar because a small drop of it can go a long way.
Yeah.
Hence why sodas and stuff are so cheap over here, and infinite free refills, because you know we got so much of the stuff. We're making so much money on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we'd have to do the research and all that on that. But yeah. Wonder Bread, you know, it's like British white bread is traditionally made with flour, water, yeast, and salt, while American white bread may include additional ingredients such as sugar, milk, and fats.
Yeah.
And
it's like, why?
to preserve it.
Yeah.
I guess, because...
I mean, the whole thing about preserving, like... So I think the theory is why we have so many preservatives in our food in America is just because we're a bigger country and the food has to travel further distances.
It's transported, and then it's like, oh, we're going to give it a bit of a shelf life too.
Yeah.
But also, it's a case of like, there's a lot of waste. And I mean, we'll talk about the waste.
The waste is a different story.
I mean, that's all over the world, unfortunately. But, you know, we'll talk about the waste some other time, but it's just like, that, you know, when I'd buy bread in Britain, I'd eat it within the week. You know, the loaf would be gone in a week. It would be very rare that me and my dad, who I lived with, wouldn't have.
The bread, the loaves are smaller in Britain too. From what I can remember,
they're smaller in like length.
Yeah, but they're taller.
They're taller. Yeah. And that's another thing I couldn't abide by. I was like, why are these so small? Why are these so tiny? Because they're like long. I don't know. There's like so many slices. I guess people think, oh, I'm getting more in the thing, but it's just like,
it's weird because you know bread pans that you use to make bread at home, right? Like the little bread pans. Like they're little. They're the size of the loaf of bread that you would get in Britain.
Yeah.
They don't. I've never seen any that have that are so long, like the loaves of bread.
Well, you can get extra long as well.
Yeah.
You can get
That's just so you can get more slices, or you can get more sandwiches out of it. You know what I mean?
But it's like yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of like it's excess, I think.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even I, as a bread eater, I mean, I don't even really eat that much bread anymore over here, probably because of that reason.
Yeah.
It's like I do enjoy toast, and I've gotten used to the taste of, like, American shop-bought bread, you know? It's like we don't go to the bakery, we don't have the, you know, the artisan loaves or anything like that. We get the occasional, like, ciabatta or French baguette sometimes. Sourdough, that's
my favorite kind of bread.
That's the same anywhere, though. I think sourdough's made...
Yeah. But that's same everywhere. Well, again, though, there's a huge difference in sourdough from the bakery to what's on the shelves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What is on the shelves, like, it doesn't even really taste like sourdough. I don't know what it is.
Because bread is made, and it's like food, you know, it's perishable.
Yeah.
But bread is an essential part of the diet. You know, it has been since, you know, humans learned how to make it, you know? But, yeah, it's just kind of like with Wonder Bread... That was invented in 1921. And, you know, it's like the balloon graphic and all that kind of stuff. And that's got, like, unbleached, enriched flour in it. And it's got, a load of preservatives, water, high fructose corn syrup, yeast, and then 2% or less of like calcium carbonate, soybean oil, wheat gluten, salt, dough conditioners. It's like dough conditioners. And there's so many of that, you know, it's just kind of like
to keep your dough nice and
ammonium
silky.
sulfate, calcium sulfate, and calcium propionate to retard spoilage. To stop spoilage.
Yeah.
It's like bread is supposed to go off.
Yeah.
It's like stuff, you know, when you make something, you eat it. You don't put it up there and go, oh, this is wonderful. Let's look at this bread for 2 years.
Put a frame around
it. Put a frame around it. No, and there was a story of someone said, oh, they put, their company was liquidated and they put all their furniture into storage for months. And then when they went to get back to get it, the guy opened a drawer and in there was an open Wonder Bread thing. And this was years ago. And not a drop of mold on it, not a speck of mold on it.
Are you serious? In like a dark storage room, in a drawer? That's
in a drawer, yeah. And I don't know. I don't know. That was a story I read when I was looking this up.
I guess people do keep bread in like a bread box, so maybe.
But it's like for months. It's not supposed to last for months.
No.
It's not plastic.
Yeah.
You know, it's not supposed to be plastic anyway.
That's how people talk about Twinkies. Like,
Twinkies.
You could have a Twinkie
Cool
in it.
Whip. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, oh, you know, it's just like, it's like, oh, I'm going to buy some bread, but I don't have to eat it until I can have it for months.
Mm.
It's like, no, it's not canned goods. You know, it's not, you know, it's supposed to be eaten within the week.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you buy some more after that then, you know. It's not to be, like, kept around forever.
There's not as many brands in Britain to choose from that I can remember either of bread. Like
there's quite a lot actually.
I mean, think about like when you go on the grocery aisle here, like one whole side of an aisle is all the different brands of bread, you know?
Yeah, but they're all kind of the same kind of thing. There's Wonder Bread. There's mostly it's the shop bought. That's like the store.
There's Nature's Own.
Nature's Own.
There's
Sara Lee.
There's the store brands.
There's quite a lot in Britain too.
Mrs. Baird's, you know.
Mrs. Baird's, yeah, I forgot about them. In Britain, the big like four. Oh, there's a big three actually. There's Kingsmill, Hovis, and Warburton's.
Yeah.
Warburton's only started expanding in the late 90s because it was before that it was based in Bolton, and it's the largest family-owned bakery in the UK, and it was founded in 1876. And you know, it was unheard of when I was growing up. It was usually like Kingsmill or Hovis.
Yeah.
I'd eat. You know, and it was generally white bread, like farmhouse loaves. Mm-hmm. It's the style of loaves as well. It's not over here. There's no really... Because when I looked up Wonder Bread, just to compare it with Warburton's, it was only classic white, whole wheat, and Italian bread.
Oh, yeah.
And Italian bread is just kind of like, oh, it's made the Italian way.
Italian, yeah.
And it's not, you know, it's not really, though. You know, it's... Whereas, like, Warburton's has, like, a seeded loaf, a farmhouse loaf, a toasty loaf, a tiger loaf.
Yeah.
A bloomer, a milk roll.
Oh, you can get tiger loaf, like...
You can get it... You can get
the shelf?
Off the shelf now. Yeah,
okay.
Because that's become so much popular in Britain. And that's probably my favourite bread ever.
Yeah.
That's like, you say sourdough's my favourite.
Yeah.
Tiger loaf is absolutely my favourite.
I don't find a whole lot of difference in the taste of that, though. I mean, it's fine, but
Tiger loaf.
It tastes like bread.
If you don't know what it is, so tiger bread. It's basically like a bloomer loaf.
They were doing it here in the bakery for a while.
Yeah, but they weren't doing it properly. It was kind of terrible. It was kind of like they made a sourdough loaf and then tried to like replicate the crustiness of the rice paste that they put on top, and I was like, no, this is not it. You've done this wrong, mate. It's all gone a bit pear-shaped.
Explain what the tiger loaf is, though.
It's like a bloomer, kind of like soft loaf of white bread, and it's very soft in the middle. It's soft as kind of like, you know, just
Dominic is a bread connoisseur, if you cannot tell. Like, he's like, mouth is watering, I can tell, talking about these different types of bread. I personally, I'm not like a huge farmhouse bread loaf, person.
But the top of it is kind of like, they kind of like apply this like rice paste to it.
Yeah.
Which cracks when it's cooking.
Yeah.
And it looks like, and it comes out, the top of it, the crust of it looks like a tiger's, skin, you know, or a giraffe bread. I think Sainsbury's started calling it giraffe bread because a 3-year-old's parents wrote in and said, oh, my 3-year-old thinks it looks more like a giraffe than a tiger. But anyway, it gives it this kind of like, almost kind of like a sweet kind of crust, but it's not sweet. It's
it's not sweet.
It's not. I don't know what it is. It's good. Anyway, it's probably my favorite.
It's good. Just eat it.
And that's my sandwich bread.
Yeah.
And it was never I'd have to try the shop the walk because apparently Warburton's do.
The bakery, you mean?
Oh, not over here. No, because it wasn't popular. They call it Dutch Crunch over here, and
do they?
Yeah.
They called it tiger bread.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called tiger bread, but, that's what it's called in the Netherlands.
Tiger bread?
Yeah, tiger brood or tiger...
Yeah, that's what they called it. I didn't see it
Dutch Crunch,
Crunch.
in San Francisco, it's very popular, apparently.
Mm.
But again, when they made it in the bakery over here, I was like, it's like they've just kind of, like, lazily done this with, like, a sourdough loaf.
They lazily did it.
And it's like, it's not...
They did not put enough effort into this
They
bread.
didn't. They didn't do it, no.
Oh my god.
And, well, Warburton's, I loved their toasty loaf. It's like, that was the bread. When they started expanding and they were everywhere, it's like, me and my dad, we bought this toasty loaf, and I was like, oh, this bread toasts like
toasty
like a miracle.
Loaf.
And it was for toasting, And you can get thick sliced bread, or you can just get like medium sliced. The thinnest slice, I think, you get it from Braces. That's what you were thinking of. Braces.
I don't know.
Brand.
Oh.
They do like thin, medium, and thick sliced bread as well.
Oh, I don't know.
I think they may be just a Welsh baking firm, but I don't know. But Warburton's did a toasty loaf, and it was like, oh, this is perfect for toasting, and they still do it. And it's very you just put it on.
kind of wonder, is Warburton's going to try to come over here? Did you find anything like that in your research? Because they're using a lot of Americans in their advertising.
Well, now they are. I think that's just because they got so much money. They can do it.
I know. But they're getting so much money. They're getting popular with American celebrities. Are they inching their way into the U.S. market?
I don't know how they could.
Yeah.
Really, because again, it's a dramatic kind of if they tried to expand over here, it'd be crazy. I think
they'd have to
because
they'd have to open up a factory, or they'd have to buy. They'd have to buy something that's already. They'd have to buy another bread brand.
The FDA
probably.
would probably be like, "Oh no, we've got to use this in our bread, and we've got to do that, and it's going to cost you to make your type of bread more to make your type of bread over here."
I wonder if, I've never seen anybody say so online, but I wonder, because, this is, again, it's a big country, I wonder if there are parts of the United States that have bread on the shelf, not from a bakery, not from the bakery section of the grocery store even, but prepackaged loaves of bread on the shelf that taste similar to British bread. I'm wondering, does it exist somewhere on the East Coast?
Wasn't it in Walmart? You was like, oh, what's this? And it was in English toasting bread or something. And it kind of looked like the stuff that my gran used to buy.
They were taller, too. They were taller pieces. Yeah, that was just that one time. That was really random. In a random Walmart that we don't ever usually go to.
Yeah, no, I think I saw it again.
I don't know.
We never bought it. No, but I have a feeling that might have been made with less preservative and everything like that.
Yeah,
because the bread over here, it toasts okay, but It's just yeah. I
I
mean,
just
I don't
cannot
know.
even like get involved in this conversation because it's just like the bread toasts. It toasts. What do you mean it toasts? Okay, like it's fine. It's toast.
I don't know. No, it's there's something about it, and I mean, only other Brits who are connoisseurs of bread will probably understand.
Apparently,
what I'm talking
all
about.
of you are connoisseurs of bread. The way British people
no,
go on
to,
about American bread online, it's
if
just
you speak
like,
to
what?
Germans or like French,
That's true.
they'll be like, "Oh, the UK's bread is terrible.
Yes, I have.
It's
seen
as bad
that.
as the US's. So what are they talking about?" And it's like, it's I can see from their point of view. From their point of view, but yeah, no, the US is like top of the list
because they're used to going into a French market and buying the baguettes.
Well, if you're going up against croissants
on the way to the park,
if you're going and doing the cool guy spin move as well as they do it.
Yes, they get their baguettes and they do their cool guy spin move.
Oh my gosh, that's a TikTok reference to anyone who follows the Scandival, who will have seen that video.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, no, like Warburton's, it was unheard of outside of the Northwest because it started in
Northwest Britain.
Northwest of Britain,
Okay,
yeah. So in the 90s, they started expanding everywhere, and then all of a sudden, by 2012, it was like the best, the best selling bread in the UK.
Yeah.
And it beat out Kingsmill and Hovis, who Hovis were like the champions forever.
Yeah, Hovis is what you used to always get.
We got Warburtons too. We were firmly a Warburton's house by the time you came along.
By the time I entered the scene. No, I remember Hovis.
Yeah, I mean, my dad would buy whatever was cheapest on, there would be, sometimes we'd buy braces, sometimes we'd buy Hovis or Kingsmill. We get Kingsmill half and half.
Oh, is Kingsmill the one that we were talking about before? We didn't finish. This bread that Dominic's dad used to get in Britain.
No.
This is British bread. This is not American bread.
That was from Jenkins Bakery. He used to get that.
Yeah.
That wasn't mass produced well.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Okay. Well, then it was
like a granary, whole wheat loaf he used to go and get. I remember I used to go with him and I'd be like, why do you buy that bread?
It didn't have enough binding ingredient or something in it, because as soon as you cut it, it crumbled, like you say American bread does.
Yeah, it crumbled.
And
it's like when
everywhere.
Crumbled everywhere, and then he'd toast it and it would crumble some more.
Yes.
And it would be everywhere, because he'd slice it, he'd never get it sliced there. I guess because they wouldn't slice it. Oh, maybe sometimes he got it sliced. I don't know, but he'd always insist on slicing it himself, like we were in the 1950s or before sliced bread existed. Pre-sliced existed. But yeah, that stuff, I'd be like, that is possibly the worst bread you could eat. It's like the national. It's like when I heard about this, the national loaf, this terrible loaf that everyone used to eat in the wartime. I was like, my dad wasn't even born until 1950. It's like, how was he eating this stuff? It must have been still around, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Oh,
maybe
probably,
maybe
yeah.
my gran had it, and she liked it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god, it's just terrible. I mean, I liked a good soft farmhouse loaf for my sandwiches, and yeah. When Tiger Bread came along, I was like, oh yeah, you can just give it up now.
Next time we go to Britain, we're gonna film, right? And we're gonna go to the bread section. And this is gonna be riveting for everyone watching.
I'm gonna do a whole TikTok if it's still around, or Instagram
we'll
reel,
have to buy
or
some
whatever.
loaves and squish them just so people can see. We'll have to take some American loaves with us.
When we carry them into the supermarket, are we
no?
Couple of maniacs?
We'll buy some British ones. We'll take some Americans with us, and we'll compare them like that. Size comparisons, squish comparisons, toasting comparisons, and then tasting comparisons.
Well, I mean that would be good to see. I mean, I'm sure there's the
American bread will get totally squished in the suitcase on the way there.
It'll get totally squished. I mean, all bread gets squished. It's not British bread has a stress ball consistency where you squeeze it and it just goes boom back
it just
up.
goes back, yeah. That would be worrying if it did.
I mean, yeah, no, I think it'll be. I think you can find American bread, like Wonder Bread or something, over there in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably. You know.
Oh, you say probably. You're just making that up then.
I mean, no, you can find almost anything, you know, if you look hard enough, really.
I mean, definitely you can probably find them in, like, around London and the bigger cities, but I don't know about the smaller places, obviously.
Maybe not. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You never know, though.
I mean, in Llanelli, where you're from, though, they do have that one,
You're saying it.
American sweet store or whatever. Or it wasn't American, but they just had like an American section.
It was sweet things, and I'm not sure that's there anymore.
There was like Pop-Tarts and Lucky Charms and all the everything bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That was my favourite sweet store, and that's only since I left that they started carrying that stuff. Because when we went
maybe
back,
they have Wonder Bread there, though.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, it looks all like...
I'm actually not 100% sure that place is still going. Which would be very sad.
But I'm saying a place like that, it would not be sad. You do not need sweets.
Yes. Do not need sweets. Who is she? You do not need sweets.
Oh my god, I'm the sweet police.
Not the sweet police. That's not sweet. But yes, I think we've kind of talked all about
I think
bread.
so,
I think,
yeah.
you know, like a farm... Oh, I'm just looking at farmhouse loaf and seeded
just
loaf.
looking at your notes now.
Yeah.
I think we've covered it. I mean, let us know if you have had British bread.
I mean, you might... A lot of people might go to the bakery. A lot of our listeners might go to the bakery and they might be, like, unaware that about... They're like, I'm not touching that mass-produced stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that is not real bread.
You know what? I was going to make this point earlier. I think that a lot of people would choose to buy their bread from the bakery if it wasn't so expensive.
Well, that's it. Yeah, no.
But unfortunately...
And that's what bread connoisseurs in Britain are like, yeah, it's because 80% of the market is Chorleywood processed bread.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's criminal, you know, that people haven't had real bread in their time.
You know, because there's some beautiful loaves at the bakery. But, like, let's say you're a family of... however many, 4, whatever, you go through a loaf of bread, you know, depending if you send your kids...
Crusty bloomer rolls.
Depending if you send sandwiches or whatever with your kids to school, you might go through a couple of loaves in a week, for all I know. You know, and it's like, you have the choice between, like, a loaf that's just a little over $1 for a loaf, you know.
Yeah.
Or like a beautiful loaf of bread, all different, any kind of different breads that you wanted from the bakery for like $5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a big difference, you know, if you're on a budget.
Yes, it's a big difference, you know. They're always going to go for the cheaper option, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about like a good crusty bloomer. Bacon in it, and a little bit of butter.
Do you remember the sandwich you sent with me?
Yes, I do. Because it was exactly the kind of sandwich I'm going to make when we go back over there.
Yeah. That was a good sandwich, I will admit. It was very spongy.
I even made it with tomatoes and cheese and everything, I think, for you, didn't I?
I don't remember. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm thinking about that now. And the bread really is like
it was
very pillowy, very cloud-like.
Yes.
And the crust is very nice and crusty. Chewy, a little bit chewy.
And that was a tiger loaf from the bakery. Yeah. No, I would not have given you any substandard Hovis stuff. I would have given you the tiger loaf. Hand cut, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think I gave you some corn deli meat or something. It was like corn chicken slices or something. Because I thought, yeah, you need to eat these.
Let us know if you are American and you have had British or European bread from any country. But the pre-packaged kind, not from the bakery.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think about the difference in taste. Do you taste a difference?
I definitely tasted a difference when I came over here.
I know you did, but I can't remember, like, necessarily tasting a difference. And I'll be so interested, you know, if we're able to taste it again, you know, to see. To see what the difference is like, you know, to see if I notice a difference. Obviously, British people and Europeans taste a difference.
Yeah.
Let us know if you are British or European listening, and you've recently tasted American bread. Let us know specifically what the differences are, because it's been a while now. All Dominic's had is American bread. He can't clearly remember.
Can't remember. It's just a memory.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just very weird.
It's just a very dim memory for me.
It's very weird how accepting we are of, like, just all of our food just being full of so much crap. And we're just like, yeah, it's just the way it is, you know?
It's just the way it is. The FDA choose to prove it's not going to kill us. Well,
yeah.
Kill us slowly, I suppose.
All right.
But yes.
All right. I think we're done here.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much, as always,
very much
for listening. We really appreciate your support. Special shout out to our patrons.
Yay,
Thank you
patrons.
guys for your support. As always, we really appreciate you. Be sure to check us out and give us a follow on social media. If you don't already, we are at TButty, TEABUTTY on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. And we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.